Good afternoon, all of you, to the webcast on the very important topic initiatives augmenting on ease of doing business in India in the era of recent free trade agreement signed by India with UAE and Australia. On behalf of the Committee for Development of International Trade Services and WTO of ICI, it is my privilege to welcome our keynote speaker, Ms. Sumita Dabra, Additional Secretary, Department for Promotion of Industry and International Trade, and Ms. Supriya Devasthali, Director, Department for Promotion of Industry and International Trade, at today's session, along with C.A. Dheeraj Khandelwalji, Chairman of the Committee, and Mr. Dushyant Thakur, Vice President, Invest India, the session moderator. As we all know, the government has taken initiatives to starting a business, dealing with construction permits, resolving property, and paying taxes. The action plan is spread across 24 uniform areas and seeks to promote a sector specific so as to create an enabling business environment across various sectors in the country. The various sectors include trade license, healthcare, legal metrology, fire license, cinema hall, tourism, etc. India has emerged as one of the most attractive destinations, not only for the investment, but also for doing business. India jumps 79 position from 142nd position in the year 2014 to 63rd in the year 2019 in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business rating. With the aim to improve the ease of living and the ease of doing business in India, more than 25,000 compliances this year has been reduced by Government of India. Positive changes have led to this impressive improvement in India's ranking in Ease of Doing Business Index. As government has launched National Single Window Scheme for investors and businesses, the portal will integrate the existing clearance system of the center and state and would be compliance tool for our members. Thank you all for joining us while I invite our chairman to carry forward the webcast. Thank you. Unmute kare, sir.
Good afternoon to each and everyone over here, and good morning to my other colleague, friends, and chartered accountants joining from the different country. And good morning, good evening to all ladies and gentlemen over here. A warm welcome to each and everyone present over here. Today is one of the important sessions which we are having it with the DPIIT and as well as the Invest India. Though we are the partner with the Invest India to promote Indian economy in various other countries to invest in India, and the Invest India is also taking lead on the various front part of the national window system, ease of doing business. So some of the few initiatives which the government is doing it, and that's why we holding this particular webinar to guide all members. Now the India is changing now under the Modi's regime. Now which we have heard that the from 142 rank to 63 ranks, the ease of doing business is the main aspects of the India, and which chartered accountant, all the countrymen can be a part of this reform process, and we can collaborate, and ICI chapters can collaborate with the DPIIT and catering the part of the furthering initiative and translate to ease of the living into the citizen. And also one of the best important which aspect is the we have heard from last so many years, from last 20 years, that every industry has to apply how many license, 30 license, 40 license, 100 license, whatever maybe. Now it's only just single click of the button. You just apply to each for the license. One of the important about the Invest in India under the Ministry of DPIIT is doing it. So there are going to be demonstration of this particular product. So we should look into that, and we should guide to our investors. Look, now India is changing, now already is there, and let's be part of the India reform journey and growth journey, and you can invest in India and everything is smooth. So I think today's particular webinar is focused on the India's growth journey and the reform journey, which we have participating in. And I'm thanking to the madam who could not join, Sumita Dabra ji, and I'm thankful to the Supriya Devasthali ma'am, who's director from the DPIIT, also Dushyant Thakur from the Invest India, Aditya Sharma from Invest India, even Yuvraj, who's taking the lead in the presentation part of the portal of the this NSWS, National Single Window System. So I think this is the great important initiative, and I'm very happy to have this particular webinars to all people, and we'll have such more program to guide to our members, not only in Indian as well as the international. So I think there's a good number of participants joined. More than 1,500 participants already joined now. So I think it's a great initiative. Let's go through the entire system, and I hope that you will like it. The initiative of the government of India. With this, thank you very much, and thank you DPIIT and as well as the Invest India for demonstrating the growth journey of India. With this, welcome each and everyone. Now hand over to this particular to Aditya. Please take forward, or Dushyant, I think you can take forward. Please, Invest India.
Thank you so much, Dheeraj ji. And again, thanks to Rohit ji for his really wonderful comments. Thank you so much, Supriya ma'am, for joining us today. Maybe just to set up a little bit of the context, the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years has been, I would say, a very difficult, but an interesting sort of journey. And, the pre-COVID and then the post-COVID, these again have been 2 different phases. And I just thought maybe we'll reflect a little bit on it. I'll just probably take the next 2 to 3 minutes to share some of the thoughts, from my end. And then we'll be requesting Supriya ma'am to come in. This is more to just sort of, set the context. And what I could say is that, even in today's day, and, I deal with various countries, and, also at the same time, we are the president of the World Association of Investment Promotion Agencies. One thing which I can say is that there is a lot of talk and discussions which are happening in India related to investments. Just give me one. Sorry, there was a little bit of noise, so I just thought I'll just close that. So what I wanted to say is that, when we really go back and see that, March 2021 is when the first lockdown was put in. And, it's been almost 2 years are going to have sort of just got completed. Now, I would say that on one side, like a lot of other governments, a lot of other investment promotion agencies, it could have been business as usual, but it was actually not. In the case of India, I can probably, and I'm going to just very briefly reflect on 3 or 4 core initiatives, what I would say have then carried the momentum. So I did want to just talk a little bit about that. First of this initiative, and this is something which was done in June 2020, was entity called as the Project Development Cells. That is something which was established in 29 central ministries, of Government of India, in 29 ministries. So, essentially anything to do with investments, you would see generally has been with DPIIT, which is the custodian of the FDI policy. A lot of other ministries also do get involved in the whole task related to investment promotion and facilitation. So you would see generally Ministry of Food Processing, every year they will go attend, Gulf Food. They go to a few of these very relevant, very important events which take place, and there are meetings which take place related to investments. Similarly, Ministry of Electronics, they have been spending a lot of time meeting up with a lot of companies in Taiwan, trying to get, more and more stuff happening in electronics. But the idea was that how can some of these ministries, which are already nicely working with DPIIT, do it in a little more structured manner? So the answer to do this was a cabinet decision which was made in June of 2020, where the 29 PDCs were established. PDCs, or it stands for, Project Development Cells. So what is a PDC do? The basic task of a PDC. So you can imagine that in Ministry of Food Processing, Ministry of Electronics, similarly in 29 such ministries, these are PDCs which have been set up. There are 3 key tasks which any PDC would be undertaking. The first is essentially any projects which are getting stuck, ensuring that they get expedited, making sure that the grounding takes place in the fastest time possible. That's one objective. The second objective is also to try and look at which are the other investors which can be looked at within India and also abroad, and try and get more and more investments. And third task has been creation of investable projects. Now, generally, when we look at some of the other, countries, let's say in Middle East or so, they generally talk in terms of investable projects. This is a thought process which, again, central government has tried to bring in. Certain states have done very well at it in terms of creation of investable projects. But now with the setting up of these PDCs, the production, with the setting of the project development cells in each of the ministries, the whole process related to investment gets more streamlined. A second initiative which was done was the creation of the empowered group of secretaries on investments. Now, you did need a high-level body which can actually take some of these bigger decisions which are required. One of the next things which I'll talk about are some of the incentive schemes which have got launched. But there was really this need of a high-level body. And this, again, through a cabinet decision was done in June 2020, which is the establishment of the empowered group of secretaries on investments. And so at times, one may have issues where it is a particular state and a center and there's no resolution coming. So then generally such things would be brought up to the level of the empowered group of secretaries. So that's another decision which was sort of made. Another thing is in terms of, the whole production linked incentive schemes. So the whole thought process behind has been that, everybody's been hit with COVID. And if you go to a company at this time and say that, hey, why don't you set up a new greenfield project or so, they'll say, hey, maybe, we don't have so much money with us or such a thing. So the whole idea was that instead of making, capital as the starting point for, giving incentives, why not if we could make production, so if we could focus on maybe existing companies and firms which could just maybe expand their operations a little bit, maybe set up another additional production line. And for all the production that they do, if they were to get a sort of an incentive. And what I would say is that while a lot of other countries are not talking about investments at this moment, in India, through these PLI schemes, there has been a whole lot of commitments for further investments which have come in. And I would say that has been a game changer. My one last point for now essentially is that due to COVID, one could see that there's not so much of physical movement. I'm talking about, let's say 4 years ago, if let's say there was a company wanting to set up a manufacturing unit to manufacture electronics, they would generally shortlist 5 or 6 states, and they would go, from one state to another. They would do, as a part of their site selection, look at many sites, do all of that. Now, post-COVID, this is really reduced. You can imagine that for an investor to come down and visit 8 to 10 states, it may not be so much possible. Maybe they will say, okay, let me finally go to 2 or 3 locations only. And so the whole idea here has been that can we move it a little bit more towards virtual facilitation? So instead of, everything happening physically, if technology can aid and if it can sort of become a tool that can be used to, help investors in their journey. And again, it is not one, but a series of such tools which have been introduced. One of them that we will be discussing at length today, which is the National Single Window System. But I did want to, just for a last minute before Supriya ma'am comes in, want to reflect on another very interesting initiative, which is the National Land Bank, or what we call as the India Industrial Land Bank. Now, the whole idea here has been that getting land, that particular piece of land is one of the major stages in an investment process. Once a particular plot has been identified where the project is going to come up, then, the regular licenses, approvals, and all of those things can be done. But land is a very important thing. Now, through, the wonderful initiative which Supriya ma'am has been doing, the whole business reform action plan and DPIT, what they've been spearheading, what we observed was that a number of states have brought in, GIS systems where one can go in and, get a plot of land. But with this National Land Bank, what was done was all of these systems were integrated. So as an investor, I could just go in and I could say, hey, I want to set up, let's say, a food processing unit, and I need 75 acres of land. And through this National Land Bank, it will actually take you down to the lowest level, to a plot level, and show you specific plots of land which could be available for your project. Also, at the same time, a mobile app has been launched, which can also be used. So these, as an example, are some of the initiatives which have been done during the COVID phase, and you can imagine that some of these projects were done at the most difficult time period. So I did want to just lay a little bit of the background here. I know a major amount of our discussion today is going to focus on the whole ease of doing business journey. Supriya ma'am would be coming in, and later on we'll be hearing from Aditya, the Chief Technology Officer, as well as from Sandeep Behel, on the National Single Window System. But for now, let me just turn to Supriya Devasthali ma'am, just to introduce her. She's a director at DPIIT. She's got a master's in organizational psychology and MBA in finance, a postgraduate in public policy and management from the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. Ma'am, that's quite a checkered background that you have there. And in terms of her work experience, she's been there at the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, where she was involved in revenue and expenditure accounting, public finance management. She's also focused on Forward Markets Commission, where the focus was on regulatory authority for commodity markets. And at DPIIT, she's been really driving the whole ease of doing business. Ma'am, over to you. I think what you've done in the last few years has been so important for our country. And I just want to say one thing, 5-6 years ago, when Make in India was getting launched in 2014, at that time, one of the thoughts which came up was that we need to improve on World Bank's ease of doing business ranking. And I happened to be in that room. And the thought process there which emerged was that let's not only focus on one thing. If we have to bring in EODB, it has to be holistic. It has to be for the entire country. If we don't bring EODB in states, at the lowest level, true EODB will not come in. You've been a part of making this happen, ma'am. Ma'am, over to you for your comments.
Thank you, Dushyant, and thank you to Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for giving me this opportunity to put forward some of the initiatives of Government of India to ensure ease of doing business. On a lighter note, many times when I tell people that I look after ease of doing business, I get bipolar reactions from everybody. There are people who would say, "Oh, that's a fantastic charge," whereas there are some people. There has been an instance where a very senior officer from one of the states, who happens to be my friend also, he said, "I don't want to talk to you about this." So witnessing such bipolar reactions for the kind of work that we are doing, I think underlines the complexity of our work, the challenging nature of our work, and also indicates that we still have a long way to go on in the area of ease of doing business. So as it is always said that we are basically known for our ranking in ease of doing business, which is published by the World Bank Group, and our spectacular improvement in the rank is already known. However, as Dushyant said, that we do understand that the World Bank ranking is not the only thing. Also, because the World Bank ranking has its own limitations, it is bound by some methodology, and the ranking concentrates only on 2 cities in India, that is Delhi and Mumbai. As we can imagine that these are otherwise also important financial and political capitals of the country. So naturally, the concerned governments would be more interested in ensuring that doing business in these places is important and is easy. However, given the fact that we are a large country, we have a federal structure where states also have an important role to play in the development of our economy. We have, right from the beginning, worked very closely and intensely with the states across the country. And I think besides the World Bank rank, our more important success, more relevant success has been in driving the reforms in the states. Because we all understand and appreciate that the real investment, the real industrial activity, manufacturing activity takes place in states. And the intensity of the activities, the amount of activity differs from states to state. However, it is important to understand that there are certain things which are important necessary and relevant for businesses. So we could come up with a set of reforms, we could come up with principles which would help states in changing the business environment in their respective areas. That is how we started working with the states on what we call as Business Reform Action Plan. Now, the beauty of this exercise, Business Reform Action Plan, is the competitive nature of this activity. We rank all the states and the union territories on the basis of implementation of these reforms. Now, the moment the ranking is introduced, there is a competition. However, in the entire journey of Business Reform Action Plan, we have tried to ensure that it's a healthy competition among the states. We have time and again used Business Reform Action Plan as a vehicle for improving business environment across the country. I would give a few examples of what do we try to drive through Business Reform Action Plan. Dushyant and his team would agree with me that now when we are talking about the national single window system, one of the important aspects of this experiment is onboarding or integration of the state single window system. Now, there are many states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, which started the single window system in their respective states only because that was a requirement of Business Reform Action Plan way back in 2015-2016. So, driving reforms like single window system, common application forms, say for example, building permissions is an important area, is a very relevant area for businesses. So the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs has got onto a project called Online Building Permission Systems. Now this online building permission system has been implemented across various cities in the country, and this OBPS included a form which is called as common application form, because when you are trying to get permission for a building, there are various permissions from various authorities. You require fire NOC in a city like Delhi, you require National Monument Authority clearance, you sometimes require Urban Art Commission clearance. So there are multiple authorities, Airport Authority of India, multiple authorities from whom you require clearances. And a business certainly cannot go on running and spending time and energy in obtaining these permissions, these approvals, etc. So a common application form, online building permission system where various agencies which are giving permissions or NOCs are onboarded. This has been implemented in large number of cities across the country. So these are some of the areas wherein we have tried to drive reforms across the country. And how do we analyze, how do we assess, how do we evaluate states? That is another important aspect of the exercise. We do not only go by what state tells us, because state has large stakes. So state will simply tell us what has been done. However, the effectiveness of that reform, effectiveness of that initiative can be felt only by the users. So we conduct a feedback survey wherein we obtain feedback from users, and these users can be professionals or they can be common users also. So say for example, for building permissions, it could be architects. For filing certain returns, it could be chartered accountants. For the commercial dispute resolution, it could be lawyers. So we obtain feedback from various stakeholders to understand how deep the reforms are, whether the reforms are effective, whether the reforms are being felt by the users or not. So Business Reform Action Plan, which is one of the most important initiatives of my department, tries to onboard all the states and the union territories in the journey of ease of doing business. Now, as a natural progression of this exercise, we have been concentrating on things like reducing time required for obtaining permissions, the number of procedures, now the amount of documentation that you need to do needs to be reduced. Since there are chartered accountants here, I understand that GST and the implementation of GST, filing of returns is perhaps one of the pain points for all the stakeholders. However, on that front also, there have been various initiatives. You all may be aware about the nil returns can be filed only through SMS. There is quarterly return and monthly payment scheme, which was launched in October 2020 by Department of Revenue. So all these initiatives tell us that we are trying to make changes, we are trying to make improvements, which would help businesses in saving their time and saving their energy. Because we truly and firmly believe that businesses should be able to devote their resources to the core business activity, and their time should not get wasted in meeting compliances which may not be relevant, which may not be necessary with the changing times. There has been another focus area of our initiatives, which is very relevant for the businesses, that is called as decriminalization. I'll try to simplify this issue. There are many acts which govern establishment of a business and running or operation of a business. And even the conclusion of a business is also guided by certain laws or acts. Now, some of these acts or laws were drafted in old days. Say, for example, 50, 60, 70, some of the acts are more than 100 years old also. So some of the provisions in these acts may no more be relevant, may no more be required. These acts will also have certain provisions which are expected to have a deterrent effect. So breaking of a law has to be avoided. And how do you avoid it? You avoid it by punishing the lawbreaker, punishing the person who is breaking the law. Now, there are many ways in which this can be punished. However, is punishment really serving the purpose? Will the person not commit the same crime in the future? That is a question that needs to be answered. So, extensive stakeholder consultations have been undertaken by our department. There are many departments, many law firms, various other organizations like Niti Aayog are part of this mammoth exercise, wherein we are trying to relook, we are trying to have a fresh look at many acts, many economic and business regulations, wherein we can either replace the imprisonment by, say, fine or penalty, or we can completely do away with imprisonment. I think this kind of an exercise will take a very long time. It's not a very easy exercise. However, the fact that we all, the government as a whole, is ready to have a fresh perspective on the acts is I think a great ray of hope, and this would help businesses in conducting their operations without fear and anxiety. Since we have chartered accountants here, you all may be very well aware about the amendments in the Companies Act, the provisions relating to the corporate social responsibility, which have been modified in the year 2021. They all are indicating at the government's willingness to look at everything with a fresh perspective, taking all the stakeholders on board, and ensuring that there is an overall ease of doing business in the country. Now, there have been certain principles that we have been following when we are trying to drive the activity of ease of doing business. Most of us may have heard the speech of Honorable Finance Minister, budget speech of Honorable Finance Minister, wherein she has talked about EODB 2.0. Now, naturally, the question that comes up to the mind is, what do we exactly mean by EODB 2.0? How is it different from the EODB that we have been driving for all these years? I think it is a fresh perspective that we are talking about when we talk about EODB 2.0. All these days, we have concentrated more on reducing time, reducing procedures, automation of procedures, digitization of records. We are also now going to look at the cost aspect of ease of doing business. So any change, any modification that is done, whether that is going to have impact on the cost for the businesses, that is something which is probably very important for businesses. So the cost aspect of ease of doing business would be the focus area going forward. We would also be driving the decriminalization in a very rigorous manner, so that businesses are able to conduct the business without any anxiety. And as we are aware that even any kind of a dispute resolution is a time consuming process, and wherever there is a time involved, there is a cost involved. So we are trying to look at various ways in which the time and the cost can be saved for businesses. I would urge all the participants of today's webinar that you are free to write to us, you're free to give us your feedback regarding how the business environment across the country can be improved. I do understand that we still have a lot of challenges, we still have a lot of concerns. However, we are ready to look at all of them. DPIIT regularly holds interactions with industry associations, with various stakeholders, and if ICAI has any representation, has any views, suggestions, we are happy to look at them, and we are happy to work on them. The webinar like today's is one of the important platforms for us to explain our EODB efforts, also to involve all the stakeholders in this activity, basically because you know the business better than us, and your inputs, your feedback is very important for us to have targeted policy interventions. So I would urge the ICAI and concerned office bearers to be part of our exercise and extend your inputs so that we can give more meaning to our exercise. I understand that there is going to be a demonstration about the national single window system, which is perhaps one of the important means to achieve ease of doing business. I would now hand over the platform to Dushyanji for further deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Supriya ma'am. And very clearly, I think the Business Reform Action Plan, and having also been around, in this ecosystem for the last few years, I would say probably 5 years ago, if I wanted to set up, let's say, a manufacturing unit, let's say wanting to make, let's say, pens as an example. And if I said, what are the licenses required? How much time would it take? It used to even take just a few days to get that information. And today, it's a very different story. And all thanks to, some of the good work which has happened because of BRAP. Certainly, there is a long way to go. Supriya ji and I and some of us were there with some of the industries, and we also were getting a lot of feedback on different aspects. And it's a continuous journey. We all have to sort of work on it together. That's sort of the whole, that's a given thing. Reducing the compliance burden, there's a lot of focus which has been there on it. The interesting thing has been, the whole feedback-based mechanism. A state will say that I've already done these things, right? But it is then for the investor to come back or the businessman to come back that has it really happened on the ground. And, making the whole thing feedback-based, bringing the whole, competitive federalism, angle. I think that dimension has worked very well in India, is what I would sort of say. And I think it's great to know about, EODB 2.0. Supriya ma'am, I know you would need to, step out. So in case there are any questions related to this segment, if I could just also request Dheeraj ji, in case there are any questions related to EODB, if we could possibly pick up those. And in case anybody has any questions, if you could just put it in the chat window or so, maybe then we could pick up those first, because Supriya ma'am would be then stepping out. And then, once we've addressed some of these questions, we'll then turn to Aditya and to Sandeep and to Yuvraj, and then, hear about the national single window system. But in case there's any questions, can we probably get those, please?
Monica ji, is there any questions? I think there are no questions because.
Okay, maybe we can just request and probably just give it another minute. So in case anybody has any question and if you'd like to just, put it into your chat window, it would be very helpful.
Ma'am, one question is there, how ICI can collaborate with DPIIT?
So, as I have already said, that we do get representations from various industry associations. So, if there are some specific industries which have some specific concerns, they can be shared with us, and then we work with the respective ministry. So, in case of chartered accountants, possibly you may have some inputs relating to GST, etc., which we on which we can work with Department of Revenue. There could be various other sectors also. So, sector specific suggestions you can share with us. There can also be, we also conduct some capacity building sessions wherein we explain our initiatives. We also try to gauge the effectiveness of reforms that are implemented. So if there are any feedback about certain systems in respective states, or say online mechanisms of various departments, the same can be shared with us. We would be sharing it with respective ministries, but we would also be trying to look at it in such a way that the next reform action points are designed accordingly.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I don't think there are any other questions. So in case one question is there, sir. The question is something different, but actually what our professionals feel, because many of the people attend these kind of session to gain some knowledge, and again, if to gain these knowledge, they want to implement the same in their professional life as well. So there is a question that how there can be a capacity building for the professional chartered accountant in getting aligned with DPIIT, and anything you can suggest to our professional members that how they can increase their exposure in providing various services to the clients or various other aspects like that.
There are various platforms, say online platforms, which are used by professionals. So, like I mentioned, OBPS, which is used by architects. So, similarly, chartered accountants also would be using some of the platforms for which we can have extensive training for chartered accountants. Of course, this may not be our core area. We will coordinate with respective ministries or departments and do this. We also have a portal which is right now a limited access portal. We call it as regulatory compliance portal, wherein we seek inputs regarding the burdensome compliances. So say for example, if we want for a new electricity connection, for obtaining a new electricity connection, what documents do you give? So basically you require a document which would give the details of your address and maybe the personal identity or the entity's identity. So beyond these two, you don't really require any other document. So there are various such initiatives, and for ensuring that they are implemented very effectively, we can do orientation sessions, we can do capacity building sessions. Some of them can be done by us, that is DPIIT. Some of them can be done by respective departments. It depends on the topic that we are trying to look at. About the regulatory compliance portal, we definitely have plans of opening it up for all, and we can also possibly going forward open it up for more professionals, so that we get a continuous feedback as to what needs to be changed, what needs to be modified, what needs to be simplified.
Thank you, ma'am. And we are again interested to work on the various capacity building programs with you as well, with the organization. And secondly, my personal request to you that if there is any possibility that we can, or Invest India or DPIIT can empanel a list of consultant of professionals on the board of your platform, so that if somebody is looking to have some consultancy or some kind of guidance, so they can have some kind of services with our empaneled chartered accountant. And that too, as an initiative, if something is possible, it can be done preliminary at free of cost. As a service, as a joining hand together, that preliminary information as a help desk for your activities, for your initiatives, in simple language, in different parts of the country, people are there. So preliminary, we can set up a help desk with your organization, which can guide and which can consult to them. And if an organization wants further detail or further working together, then it can be done on professional behavior. So this is my request and submission to you. It can be worked out anywhere. And one more question is that which parameters we can work together for ease of doing business?
So see, the specific parameters may change from sector to sector. Sometimes they change from state to state. However, the basic parameters would be something like, as I already said, that if for getting a particular permission, you need to follow 10 processes. Now, there could be some processes which can be subsumed, or they can be combined and they can be integrated. So you save on the number of processes, and you also in turn save on the time required for obtaining a particular permission. There are multiple forms which chartered accountants are filling on behalf of clients. Now, if there are any suggestions regarding simplification of these forms, digitization of these forms, those suggestions can be made to us, and we can take it up with respective authorities. We also understand that there are multiple online platforms. Ensuring their effective functioning, their efficient functioning is also a challenge given the volume of transactions that we have in our country. However, if there are any suggestions regarding the efficiency of existing systems, that also we can work on that also.
And secondly, don't you think are there any challenges that every state has their individual single sign-on platform for every kind of registration, and then at the national level again we are coming with this platform? So there is something concurrence with the state and with the central. So are there any issues, or there can be any conflict, or there can be any confusion among the stakeholders that supposingly I belong from Rajasthan and want to establish some industry or want to take some registration? So probably we can get confused that yes, if we have to move through state or through the central portal.
Supriya ma'am, can I address a part of it if you permit?
Yes.
So what I would say is, Rohit, so while, we have analyzed, the single window systems of more than 20 states when we have, launched the national single window system, the very good positive thing that we saw was that, each of these single window systems which states have developed, while they may be using different technologies, but one thing which came out very clearly is that the list of processes which has been identified as per the business reform action plan. Each year, DPIIT and Supriya ma'am will come out with the BRAP guidelines which are there. Every state single window system adheres to the same. So which means it's the same getting electricity connection, getting a water connection, and like this, there'll be maybe 30, 40 such, sector agnostic and a few sector specific, licenses and approvals which have been mentioned, and all of the all of these state single window systems do have those. So that is one beneficial thing for us. Number two, as you will see later on in the demonstration and in Aditya's and Sandeep's, intervention, you would see that there's a very smooth transition and the very smooth close working between the national single window system and the state single window system. So the fundamental things, and Aditya will probably share with us some basic guidelines which were sort of given to us when we were to move on to the national single window system journey. So because of which today, to onboard a state is much easier for us. And we really don't feel any issue sort of coming with that. I'll just stop here. But Supriya ma'am, in case you want to just come in with a comment, or I'm sure Aditya in your speech later on, you'll be talking a lot around this.
I just have 2 points to make. As you've already said, there are challenges because we are a federal country and the respective states may have their respective platforms. However, in the national interest, we certainly can get them all on board a common platform. That's point number one, and that's what we are doing through NSWS. That is point number one. Point number two, even within a particular state, the platforms that they have, there are efforts going on to ensure that there are not multiple channels opening when one enters a particular portal. Say, for example, if we take an example of Maharashtra's Maitri portal, suppose it so happens that the Maitri, where you log on to Maitri portal and then it takes you to a particular department where again you have to enter your details, submit same documents, then the very purpose of Maitri portal will be defeated. So we are working with the states through Business Reform Action Plan, wherein we are trying to ensure that all the information is available at a single source. There is integration of systems so that the investor or the business person doesn't have to run from one portal to the other portal and one office to the other office. However, it's not a very easy thing to do. The IT platforms are sometimes different. They have to converse with each other. We need to build in some capacities so that the two different platforms can converse with each other. We are working very hard on this, and we definitely understand that this is really very relevant for businesses and for stakeholders. Though it might take a little more time, I think we eventually will be able to have a simplified and integrated system for business.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. And I think this last question very nicely takes us into the second segment of our program, which is on the National Single Window System. We are today the 75th year of independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, taken on this really interesting initiative is what I would say. And I can say it is a game changer.
I want to ask sir one more question. It is not exactly a question, but it can be an issue which may help us to get the more output. Because, sir, the most important thing in any business is land, sir. And since ours is a federal country, so the lands right are with the state, the development, the taxes, the collections, and everything. So this is really very important that if the states of the country come together and they come together under one roof regarding providing these kinds of registration, because this is really very important aspect where the common businessmen get confused that anything related to the land has to be done through state network only. So because like conversion of land, issues of conversion of land, various NOCs related to land, because day one पे जो हमारा business start होता है वो land से related issues पे आता है. Your setback, your area of construction, your building plan, your water connections, like that. So these are the issues which we need to cater and which we need to understand, because unless we don't have the support of all the states, so probably this the feature, this purpose is somewhere or the other is not getting to the point where which we want to reach. So we can put more efforts to the states that they can come together, so that the purpose of ease of doing business, probably the reason why our country is ranked below is just because of this very reason that there are two bodies in the country. So every state in itself is a country. I personally feel that each state is a country in itself, following its own rules, regulations related to various licensing, related to various documentation, compliance, and land related product. Then again, we have country, India as a whole, where we have central registrations of various products, wherein if you want to go for businesses, so you have to take these central registrations also. So somehow or the other, we can move ahead while taking the states into confidence. And if it is done, that single sign-on, single registration is done from the central level, then literally it will help the stakeholders, the people coming from outside country, that they have to pursue only single organization. So this is my submission, sir.
So Priya ma'am, in case you want to share any thoughts, yeah.
Tushar, I would want to sign off on this note that Mr. Agarwal is actually making your argument. you're going to say the same thing. Aditya is going to show same thing.
True.
So we should be happy that that an important body, which is also an important stakeholder, is already with us on this.
Absolutely, ma'am. I think, Rohit, some of the things that you're saying, maybe a step one out of them, you'll today be seeing in your demo itself. But I do want to, there's always this thing about land. I do want to, clarify, even when we've interacted with a lot of delegations at times coming from foreign countries, somehow this whole thing about land and India, it's somehow made to be seen as a very complicated and a very difficult thing. But one, I would like to just break it down into two parts that, if let's say I am somebody who's sort of wanting, let's say, a 2-acre piece of land for my project, or a 4-acre, 10-acre, 20-acre, even 80 to 100 acres. What I would say is that, very clearly in India, when you have these states, and each state has the State Industrial Development Corporation, the main key thing which a state IDC does is prepare, industrial areas and industrial parks. Now, those are all ready. And, on top of it, NICDC, the National Industrial Corridor Development Authority, they've already got a number of industrial cities which are ready, which are there. And I was told more than 175 specific plots have been taken across 4 of the industrial parks which are there. Now, I did want to say that, for example, if I go to a state IDC and if I try and take a piece of land, the plots are available, all the information is available, a person can go down, see the plot. Maybe, an issue can generally come up when you are talking about a project, the scale of, let's say, 500-700 acres, where there are, let's say, a lot of villages which need to be sort of, or, tribal areas or things of that sort. That's where, but generally in, I would say, 95 to 98% of the cases, all the states, and I can say that if an investor comes to us and says, I need 75 acres of land, within a few hours, very clearly, we do get a very crisp response from states that these are very clear lands with very clear titles which are available, which an investor can take in today. If something, for example, even let's say if an investor says, I need 200 acres or 300 acres of land, locations such as Dholera or the ones which are coming up, through the industrial corridors in the country, there are plots of that size and scale also which are available. So Rohit, yes, I can imagine that when one is talking about the projects, the size and scale of a POSCO or, Maruti Suzuki or some of those projects, that's where one may need to go a little deeper, understand what it is. However, for most of the, I would say 98-99% of the investors, the land is available. And maybe before I invite Aditya to come in, let me just share this little bit more dimension, because this will be a very relevant and a very interesting tool, rather something which you guys can also download on your mobile phones, and you can, just sort of play around with it. So I did want to say that we have the India Industrial Land Bank, and you can nicely go into that portal and you can probably put in your land request there. At this stage, information related to specific pieces of land will be made available to you at a plot level. And you will be able to see who you can get in touch with. You will be able to see who are the occupants of the plots which are nearby. And you will be able to see all the, infrastructure connectivity and all of that on it. So all of that is there. And what we have interestingly done, this is again something which was done during the COVID phase. So like I said, most of these are again very complex projects where you are bringing in states together or so. This is again another project launched by Honorable Commerce Minister, but it was done when probably COVID was at its peak. It started with 6 states coming on board the India Industrial Land Bank. But today we are there at more than 23 states which are already there. So it's more or less a pan-India project which is there. And the remaining few states are the only ones which don't have any GIS systems, but we've also devised mechanisms to bring them on board, including some of the Northeast states. So do try it out. I'll share a link on the chat window here, which others can see. And also there's a mobile app which is there, which we will sort of see. But for now, let me turn to Aditya Sharma. And like I mentioned, the National Single Window System, in my mind, is it's a landmark initiative, something which will supplement the efforts of Supriya ma'am. Clearly, she's been driving this for the last few years, and National Single Window System is, I would say, one key pillar of it. Let me turn to Aditya. Aditya, I think it's nice if you just want to tell it more like a story for our CAs who are there.
Sure. Thank
Over
you,
to you,
Dikshit.
Aditya.
A very good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon to all of you. Well, single window is not really a new concept. It has been, talk of the town since all of us started our career. So when this project came to us, Invest India was chosen as an executing agency under the guidance of DPIIT. And it was at that time a utopian, vision that what if all the approvals across center and state could be provided through one single user interface. As Madam pointed out, India is a big country, a very complicated country, with central approvals, state approvals, approvals going to the municipal corporations and so on. So it was a humongous task, and we broke that task into a certain number of phases, and we are currently in the middle of phase 1 and 2. Our immediate target for phase 1 was to showcase that this kind of a concept can actually work, and it is something which is workable across levels of government of India and state governments. So the first problem we identified was that while consulting with a lot of industry players, a lot of CAs, consultants who consult companies for India market entry, there was not a single source of information. The information was dispersed, it was available across platforms, and let's say if you want to set up one manufacturing plant, you have to actually access multiple platforms, multiple online platforms by respective state governments and central departments to identify what approvals and registrations are even required, right? And I believe a lot of you at your end would be doing a lot of consulting and doing the heavy lifting of bridging this information asymmetry that existed in the ecosystem. So what we did a lot of secondary research. We collected all the approvals that we could find, all the registrations that we could find, which are required to start business. And we collected this list, collected all the trigger points that make all these approvals applicable for one particular business case, and took the validation from respective departments. So we learned our lessons from some of the earlier initiatives on the same lines, and we took the first step to gather the information and look for validation rather than seeking the information from step 0. That's what we did. And our 2 pillars of this national single window system was that we will aim to minimize the information asymmetry, that this will become a single source of information, and number 2, we will aim to reduce the duplicity of information which is submitted across authorities for various approvals through this platform. So using these 2, making sure that these 2 are the core pillars of our initiative, we started working somewhere around mid 2020, and subsequently we hired our technology partner TCS to build this platform, and we ensured that this platform was serving the needs of the various government departments, so that it become a lot easier for them to adopt this. Because it was not just we always knew what the businesses wanted. They wanted a single simple interface to apply for all the approvals and track those approvals, respond to the queries which businesses get from all the departments, submit all the documents at one place, do one-time registration, as Rohit was saying, one user ID password to access all the approvals across center and state. So we always knew this is what was required from the businesses as the fundamentals which will drive ease of doing business in India. So we have I'm glad to share that we have already built that platform. Fundamentals are in place. We are driving the adoption to bring in more states and more approvals on this national single window system. We have completed a very important module which will help minimize the information asymmetry, which we are calling as know your approval module, wherein a set of questions, when you answer, you get the list of probable approvals and registration that is required by particular business case. We will be looking at the demo of that particular module. We have already completed common registration form, which will address the duplicity of information which is submitted across center and state. So once an information is submitted, which includes your company incorporation number, which includes your project location details, your director details, all this information will be shared with all the respective departments and all the state authorities as deemed suitable by your business. So that is a stage where we are. We are constantly looking for your feedback. Will it solve all the problems? I don't think so, but it is a direction that we have taken, that over a period of time we will be in a far more better state as far as ease of doing business is concerned. We have come a long way in that, doing ease of doing business ranking and so on. But national single window system will be an important step to further improve that. And some of the use cases that we are looking at, which we did not anticipate it earlier but had turned out to be very, very relevant, that all the schemes, right? So all the schemes, all the incentive schemes, for example, vehicle scrappage policy, or scheme for leather industry, those schemes require bundle set of approvals across authorities. And that's where the single window system can step in and say, okay, this is the scheme that you want to participate. These are the 10 approvals that is required for you to participate in this scheme. You can apply for all these approval at one single place with online payment mechanism, submission of your DSC, submission of all the relevant documents and so on. So that system is already in place. We are integrated with 14 state single window systems. Our target is to make sure the entire country becomes a part of this national single window system in next 1 year or so. What we are looking for here is your feedback and support, and something which will make national single window system much more relevant each day. So it is at a stage wherein already 5,000 approvals have been applied, 3,000 of them have been granted, 1,000 of them have been rejected as per the existing law of that particular approval and so on. Once established, will it serve as a single source of truth? So we are debating on that what if if you make a change at national single window system, for example, your address changes, how about that address gets changed in all the databases of Government of India? So that is something currently we are debating on, and we are looking for a lot of feedback from your end, because I believe CAs will be the largest user base for national single window system. So currently we are little flying under the radar and quietly onboarding more and more ministries so that the utility of the platform increases. But the platform is ready for all of you to use it for your clients, especially the ones who are forming new companies and looking for approvals across center and state. So use it for your clients. Any feedback that you get while using national single window system, you can submit it. There is a call center there. There is already a mechanism wherein we are looking at all the feedback collected online and acting upon it. So that is our request. It's not complete yet. There is a lot of work needs to be done. We are working on that, but your feedback will help us ensure that we prioritize the right aspects on this platform. Thank you. Over to Sandeep and team to showcase the demo.
Maybe Aditya, if I can just come in with a couple of more interventions, and then maybe we'll be requesting Sandeep to come in. But I did want to say that 2 or 3 points, and hats off to some of you who are there already. So number one, that this project it was a budgetary announcement. So you can imagine that this whole project has been implemented while COVID waves were coming in and going. So that's one thing which I must sort of still mention. Number two, that getting a commitment from various central and state governments again was a very big thing. And that's where, we've had the highest level support behind us, for this project. Currently, also Secretary DPIIT, Mr. Anurag Jain, Sumita Davraman, unfortunately, who had been called in for a high-level meeting. She was not able to join us today. The additional secretary, she's been at it. I can't think of a single week in the last, in this entire journey where she's not sort of had multiple meetings with us in a day. But I really, really want to acknowledge Dr. Guru Prasad Mohapatra, the former secretary DPIIT. He's been somebody who was really guiding us through this entire journey. We lost him during the COVID thing which was going on, but somebody I remember, he said that, if this project can come up live, this is going to be one of the biggest achievements for him. And September 2021, the platform got launched, and I think this is, so I must be sitting somewhere up there and looking at, that, okay, these guys were able to do something, moving on, I'd like to now invite Mr. Sandeep Behel. He's the Senior Assistant Vice President at Invest India. Sandeep, please do come in.
Thank you, Dushyant. Thank you, Rohitji, Dushyant, Aditya. So what we'll do is that we'll take you through a short presentation and followed by a live product demonstration, which will be done by one of our colleagues, Yuvraj Pratap, who's live with us. So I'm going to share my screen, and Dushyant, let me know when it is visible. So is my screen visible?
I think it's still coming up. Maybe, yeah, now it's visible. You'll have to move to the full screen mode, Sandeep. Yes, Sandeep, it's visible, yeah.
Okay, so I'll just talk a little bit about how it started. The concept was announced by the Honorable Finance Minister during her budget speech in 2020-21, and during her speech she announced that there will be investment clearance cell which will work through a portal. Now this portal is now called National Single Window System. So before I take you through the what the architecture is, there are two questions: that what is National Single Window System, as Aditya already explained it, and why do we require it at one place? So National Single Window System is a one-stop digital platform to obtain all the requisite pre-establishment and pre-operations, central and state approvals to start your business operations in India. And why was it required? It was felt that there was a lot of inconvenience while applying the business approvals. For example, visiting multiple offices, applying on multiple systems. You have to submit repetitive documents. Provide same and repetitive information and again. So it was thought that there could be a platform which could actually started and which could eliminate the need of investors to visit the multiple stakeholders platforms to gather the information and obtain clearances and to start their businesses in India. So toward this end, as Aditya said, ICC, which is Investment Clearance Cell through Invest India under the good guidance of DPIIT, has been working at a rapid, pace over the last 2 years and developed a portal called National Single Window System, which was soft launched by Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry on 22nd September 2021. So that is the brief background, and why what was the reason for having such a platform. This slide talks about the architecture of our platform. So the architecture is simple. but the guiding principle is visionary. Any entrepreneur or investor, regardless of its background, country of origin, size, sector, investment size, will be able to identify and apply the approvals through this system. And the idea was that we do not have to disrupt the existing systems of central departments and states, while as create a unified single online interface for the investors to identify, apply, and track their approvals, and obtain their approvals through this system. So that is the whole architecture about the national single window system. Now, what do we have in national single window system is different modules. So there are two ways to apply through our system. One is a view all approvals, wherein it's a complete e-commerce type of a platform kind of a system, wherein the assumption is that the investor already knows the approval, and therefore they will add to the cart and to the approvals and process it. But the investors who are not aware about their approvals, we have sort of developed a intelligent module which is called Know Your Approvals. It asks a series of dynamic questions about the plan, business activities, and identifies the approvals which are required for your businesses. Apart from that, we also have a common registration form. The whole idea is that you don't have to. It is to minimize the duplicity of the information across the approval. So once you have submitted the fields in the common registration form, those fields will not be repeated throughout the process. Now, apart from that, we also have a document repository, which is a unified online document storage, wherein you can investors can upload and save their documents and view their documents on the repository, and which are submitted by them and which are issued by the government authorities. We have so not only you can apply from the system, we have a applicant dashboard where it's a unified interface where you can not only apply but also track your application. You can know what is the exact statuses of the applications you have filed through this system. And there is also a user-friendly communication module which responds to the any clarifications and any queries which are requested by the processing authorities. This can be done through their e-communications module, which is part of our national single window system. Once this is done through with these modules, and we are routed towards the single window state single window systems, there is a single click state registration form, and you'll be able to process your application. So these are the key modules of our system. These you would see these are the ones which are in the green are the status of the central ministries, and the whites which are still in the progress. So all these ministries, all these approvals, the pre-establishment approvals which are required to start your operations in India have been already been onboarded. The ones which are in white are still in under the progress. Likewise, we also have states. So states, we have onboarded 14 states, including Jammu Kashmir as a union territory. So all the single window systems of these states and UTs have been onboarded and working seamlessly with the national single window system platform. The ones which you see in white are the ones which are in progress and will be onboarded very shortly. So not only we were having business approvals on our system, there were requests that special schemes like vehicle scrappage should also be onboarded. for the benefit of the investors and on the single sign-on, and to utilize this national single window system, we also have onboarded vehicle scrapping policy for the states of Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, and Karnataka, and there are many more states which we are in talks with, and they will be also onboarded as soon as possible. This is a quick statistics. So we are getting a lot of traction from the visitors, and people are processing their applications. So if you see the website statistics as well as the user statistics, there are about more than 8,000 users which are registered. There have been more than 4,800 common registration forms which have been filed. Approvals are progress, more than 1,200, and so on and so forth. There are also website statistics which shows that how much users have seen these modules and policies like scrappage policies and other pages, and they spend around 8 minutes on the website. So as we go forward, as I said, there would be around 11 departments and 4 states which would be onboarded as soon as possible. We are trying our best to make user experience more seamless, and we're trying to make it a genuine single window system as much as possible. We understand Institute of Chartered Accountants of India is a premium statutory body for regulating the professions of chartered accountants in India. And you guys have more than 350,000 members. CAs play a critical role in obtaining approvals for the businesses. Several CA firms, in fact, are active in this domain and offer services related to the business approval. So it's important that ICA members start utilizing an NSW portal for applying business approvals. And as suggested by Aditya and Rohit ji in the beginning, that there can be a channel or a procedure or something like on which we can accommodate and receive as well as accommodate the feedback provided by the ICA members. So at the end, I would say national single system will be another milestone toward the improving of ease of doing business in India. And these are the contact details. You can contact us through the toll-free number or through our help center, as you can also write us on this email ID. Now I would request Yuvraj to please give us a live product demo of National Single Window System.
Yes, hello. Thank you, Sandeep. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to take you through the platform, and I'm going to quickly share my screen. Sandeep, please do let me know if it's visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
Thank you. Yeah, so I won't take too much of your time. I'll just quickly go through the main features that we've been discussing. So this is the homepage of the platform. As you can see, there's information here on explaining again what it's all about. And we can also see the participating ministries and states here. Again, just some information on how the platform works, as well as the link to the industrial land bank portal that was mentioned by Dushyant. So I'm going to then dive in straight to the Know Your Approvals module, which is one of our key modules on the platform. So as I click on this Know Your Approvals module, I'm taken to a page where I can select if I want to take these if I want to apply for central approvals or for state approvals. So I'm going to start with central approvals for now. And then this will bring up the intelligent questionnaire that has been designed to ask simple questions, and based on the responses given by investors to add approvals for them in their list. So for example, the first question here ask me if I have a legal entity registered in India. If I say no, for example, then it asks me how I would like to register. And then I can choose here, say a company, for example. And then I can say maybe a private company. And so as you can see here, a few approvals automatically got added in my list. And if I click here, I can see these approvals on the side pane. And if I just continue on with answering a few more questions just to get a feel of what it's like. So labor, I'll say yes here. And I'll say local employees, maybe 20 or more. Yeah, so another thing you'll notice here is on the right-hand side, we have this additional information pane, which if you click on it, gives you more information on the questions that are being asked. For example, you might want to know what a labor identification number is. So this here gives all that information. And of course, you can always download this information as a PDF if you need to. And so the idea here is to really help the investor, give them as much information as possible in an easily accessible format. So here, for example, there's some intellectual property related ones. I'll just choose a few. So this is the first section here, business registration. Now I'll move on to business activity details and just select a few more. For example, dealing in rubber, if that's my activity, I can do that. And here again, you can see this quite a comprehensive set of information for the questions. And also we provide links so you can check further if you need to. So yeah, I'll just show you the rest of the sections here. This is about foreign investment details. Just in case you are sourcing money from outside India, then we have incorporated the FDI policy into this KY as well. So it will guide you through those questions. And finally, for land, again, this is related to, for example, if you're carrying out activities in a forest zone or a wildlife area, then you might need special approvals. So once I'm done with this, I'll click on submit to know your approvals. And as you can see here, all these approvals have been listed here. And if I want to stop here, I can download these as a PDF and come back to it later if I need to. Otherwise, I'll continue right now to the state approvals. It asks me if I want to save them. I will say yes to that. And then choose Gujarat for now. This is again a similar kind of KY where I just answer some simple questions. And this takes into account all the information and the approvals that are given by the state governments. And we've also tried to map that in a way that's easy to understand and accessible for investors. So again, some of these approvals get added. There's a few more sections about business activities. So I'll maybe choose some pollution related one. Yeah, and then I'm going to submit this as well. So this is my final list now. I can click on save and apply. And here you can see I'm taken to my dashboard. We call this the Applicant Dashboard. And here, if you see, you have two tabs here for central approvals and state approvals. So these are all the the central approvals that got added for me. And if I click here on this tab, then I can see the state approvals for Gujarat that got added. So I'll just also quickly go through just one journey of filling up a form. This one here. So when I clicked on apply now, I was taken to the common registration form. And this was, as we mentioned before, this form captures all the common information that might be relevant for multiple forms and then auto-populates it intelligently across all those forms. So as you can see, it asks basic information about address and factory or site location and which products and services you're into and things like that. So I've already submitted this just to help with the demo. So I'll go on to now my actual approval that I wanted to apply for. So yeah, as you can see here, this is the approval name here, and this we have the form here. Again, it's quite straightforward. You can just fill in your information here. Again, I've pre-filled this just to help with the demo. One thing I would like to show you here is if you go on documents, like a document section, if you want to upload a document, you can click here and then you can either choose a file from your computer or you can click on this My Document Library button and you'll be shown all the documents that you might have used in the past in the system. So there's no need to upload the same document again. You can just come here and choose, a document. If that's relevant, you can always upload it, and it keeps track of your versions and also the date. You can even preview it if you like, and then you can just click on this button to upload it. And it's been uploaded, as you can see here. So now I'll just review and click on review and submit. So here I'm taken to a preview page where I can check if I'm happy with all the information that I've entered. And once I am, I can click on this acknowledgement and click on pay and submit. And then I'll be taken to the payment portal. Yeah, and again, I can just continue my transaction as you would. So I'm just doing a dummy payment right now. So yeah, as you can see, once I've submitted it, I get a notification that it's been submitted with the payment amount, transaction ID, date, time, and my email account. And then I'm taken back to my dashboard where you will see in a second that the application status has changed. So if I just go to that approval, yeah, you see here now it's changed to applied, and we know which ministry it's assigned to. And so once that the ministry processes it, the status will change here again, and I can access the approval certificate. Now I'll just also quickly show you the state journey because we've been talking about the integration with the states. So Gujarat, I can click this button and click on apply for all, and I'll be taken to the Gujarat registration form. So how we've designed these is analyzed all the state portals and we've mirrored their common application forms onto our portal. And so all this information that you fill here is then automatically, once you submit it, it's automatically transferred to the Gujarat state portal. And once again, it's a similar kind of procedure. You just fill in all the information related to your company, your project details, and things like that. And I will submit this as well. And once this is done, you will see here it says submitted and all these changed to pending. And you can see here it says once the Gujarat state validates all the information, there will be a link here to apply now, which will take me to the state portal, and I can continue my application from there. And also, just quickly, the last thing I want to let you know is, just in case if there is any clarification required from me by the ministry or any kind of thing, that will pop up through this notification panel. And then I'll be able to answer any messages or resubmit any documents through that messaging platform as well. So that's just a quick look at the National Single Window portal. And yes, I would encourage everyone to try it out. Thank you, and back to you, Sandeep.
Thank you, Yuvraj. So there are a couple of questions have been shared by ICIA. So I'll take them one by one. The first question is, the client wants to start NBFC. What is the process? Who can guide? Aditya?
Can you repeat the question, Sandeep?
The question is, the client wants to start NBFC, non-banking financial corporation. What is the process? Who can guide?
Sure. So, when you're talking about NBFC, we are primarily looking at certain approvals which are granted by RBI, SEBI and the likes. However, most of the other approvals which are, consistent for any company which is, gets incorporated, are still applicable. Our Know Your Approval accommodates these approvals, some of the approvals from RBI and SEBI as well. So you can go through that Know Your Approval. If you are not able to find those approvals over there, please feel free to reach out to our customer support or write an email, and we'll get back to you.
Okay. The second question is, getting industrial permits is very difficult in India. Does single window system address the same?
So yeah, absolutely. When you talk about industrial permits, those permits are either related to the kind of raw materials you are using. Those permits could be related to the kind of business processes that you are undertaking. Those permits could be related to the location of the land on which you are doing that commercial or industrial activity. So all these three categories of permits or approvals or registration across center and state are there, are in the scope of National Single Window System. But maintaining the federal integrity of our country, we are currently in the process wherein we are ensuring that all the state single window system also have 100% coverage. So our integration is with state single window system, and we are encouraging states to bring all the permits under their purview on their state single window system. So national single window system can be completely comprehensive. In case you find certain permits or certain registrations or approval not covered on national single window system, we'll be glad to have your feedback, and use that feedback as an argument for all the engagements that we are doing with various authorities.
So the next question is there any limit of investment for utilizing the website?
No, absolutely not. It is open for everyone. If you are able to register yourself as a legal entity in India, you can use National Single Window System. It is also open for sole proprietorships. So there is no limit. It is open for all.
The next question is, which all industries, public sectors are covered in NSWS?
We are truly a sector agnostic platform. Of course, going forward, we will be giving a certain specificity to certain sectors based again on the feedback that we are receiving from industry bodies. but right now it is a sector agnostic platform. So if you don't see your sector probably mentioned anywhere, it means your sector does not require a sector specific approval, and they need generic approvals and registrations and so on.
Okay, so there are no further questions. So Monica ji, okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Sandeep ji, and Dushyant ji, Aditya ji, Yuvraj ji, and all the participants over here. Probably by today's session, we have got the insight of how we can have single registration, and the clear instructions and clear demonstration has been given by all the speakers over here. And I'm very hopeful that all the participants have understood the theme behind which the session was done. And I'm again thankful to all the speakers who have joined today's session, all the participants who have spared their valuable time, and the technical support team, including the secretary of the committee, Monica ji, who is the force behind the working in this committee, and the chairman of the committee, Dheeraj Khandelwal ji, in his absentia. So we just assure you that we will keep doing much more programs related to the capacity building, and probably we are thankful enough. We'll continue the same events, similar events with the same spirit. Thanks a lot very much. So we are now signing off.
So before we sign off, I would really like to thank the complete team of ICI, especially Monica Jainji, and you, as you rightly said, Roji, she was the guiding force and have been helping us to organize this event. And we have seen participants of more than 500 CAs across the country, and CAs are, as Aditya said very well.
There is one more question, sir.
Okay, sure.
So the question is, I want to build a cycle track. Can you guide which approval are required?
Want to build a cycle track?
Yeah.
So I believe, my on top of my mind, I can say if you own the land, then if you're not doing any construction, then you can do whatever you want.
No, Aditya, I think maybe what is, I don't know. So for example, if the reference here is of, let's say, two-wheelers, and for example, when you talk about commercial vehicles for that, or even for cars, there are tracks which are done at fairly large pieces of land. Now, in case it is more from a business perspective, we do know that there is a cycle valley, for example, which is there in Punjab. I'm not very sure if there's a specific track where they do testing of their bikes or something of that sort. But I think just connect with us. I think that will be because this is a very unique query, and happy to pick it up. But I can certainly say one thing: if it's a commercial entity, then in addition to your track, you will certainly be constructing a little sort of a small office there, maybe a room or things of that sort. I've been to a track which has been created to test cars, and this was a huge facility going over almost 150 acres. Now, if we are talking about a commercial thing of that sort for two-wheelers or for bicycles, then maybe we'd be happy to pick it up and then probably guide you on it. Broadly, the way like what Aditya was mentioning, that it is supposed to be sector agnostic. When we talk about Know Your Clearances module, a very clear guidance which is sort of being given to state governments is to try and make it very, very comprehensive. And so that's what the thought is. And sorry, just getting back to the point which I was making. So if you have a cycle track, if you're doing a little office around it, then you will again require all of your regular clearances, getting all your utility licenses and all of those things. So again, all of these things should be possible through the National Single Window System. Now, in case there's a specific approval required from a track perspective from one of the automotive authorities, maybe we will check it up. We have tried to already include some of those things, but like I said, it's a little unique query, and happy to pick it up. We'll probably request Rohit if you can divert them to Sandeep. We will sort of try and address that. Aditya, I hope that's fine in case you want to add anything.
Absolutely. The general sense of, our research says that, unless you are building something on land, which requires, of course, all the construction approvals, utility registrations, and so on. And the land, the construction ratio has to be maintained. I think that in that case, for specific approval on, maintaining a track, if it's a, private property, may not be required. But if it's a commercial property, then of course, standards like, various standards or equivalent standards of similar to BIS and ISO may be applicable.
So something which is a little different, but again connected with automotive, the vehicle scrappage as an example. Now, there's a complete journey of that has been created on the national single window system. Generally, one would require at a minimum maybe around 12 clearances. All of them have been bundled together. So it's not the same example, but giving you a little different example, which is also available on the national single window system. Rohit, I hope that will be fine. And in case there's no other questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.